There's a few things I wanted to make mention of because we just went with Salah, and so I was reminded of a few things. I just want to share with you guys. If you have questions, make sure you write it down so you don't forget. As my man always tells me, if you're over 25, you start to forget things. Right? One of the things is that when you go to ruku, your back is, come on, go to ruku. If he's in ruku, his back is supposed to be, make a hole, right? Make a, like, no, cavity. Make a cavity, right. And now put the head down like that. Don't bend it up. So, no, the chin goes down, right. So your chin is looking between your teeth, but right here, there should be some water that you can place right here. You get my point? That way, the muscles are pulled back. That's what it's, and so you have these two bones here, so there should be like a ravine. Does that make sense? It should now round it. This is wrong. Okay, this is not correct at all. It should not round. Straighten it. Right there, the back. You see how the back is straight? Now he's supposed to be bending from his waist, right? Now he comes up, not that way. So the other thing is that your hands should be forward, like in the sajda, your fingers should be facing the direction of the qibla. It shouldn't be turned this way and turned that way. Fingers should be symmetric. Your feet, you should be on the bottoms of the feet, not on the top of the foot. Some people, can you get this camera and see this thing right here? This is wrong. This is correct. And sab, the heels should go together. Okay? So here, in this direction here. Now there should be where your sab, what is it called, thigh?
Yes, thigh.
Thigh should not touch your stomach. So that means you should be up, so you shouldn't be like this. And this is the thing that, you find sometimes the Hanafis will say, oh, the women should go down lower than the men. Okay, for this type of thing right here, we say this is an ara, this is an opinion, not established by the Sunnah. Why? Because the Prophet ﷺ, he dealt with the men and the lady equally with these particular issues of salah, or any type of issue. And when there was a distinguishing issue for the ladies, he mentioned it in a clear narration, and we don't have any narration in that regard. Does that make sense, everybody? The other issue I wanted to say is when you're getting up. Now, I know a lot of times people feel that you have to make a fist when you get up. This is not correct. You don't have to make a fist in order to stand up. They said he got up and he was kneading bread, right? Well, we asked this question, and the Shaikh asked the people who make bread. So we went to the people that make bread, and that was a lot of the ladies, and some ladies knead bread with their hands, and some ladies knead bread with their fists. So we went to the makhbaz, to the bakers, and they said the same thing, with your palms and with your fists. So I'm one of those people that we used to study from Ibn Uthaymeen when he was alive, okay? And Ibn Uthaymeen, he would teach us what to do with your palm when it's on the salah, okay? When you go into sajda, he said that he was taught to focus on trying to get the center of your palm on the ground. You get my point? So you're in sajda. What are you trying to do? Make sure the middle of your hand is getting on the ground in that way. You get my point? And so there's an usul fiqh principle. When it's vague, you have choice. So getting up with your palms and getting up with your fists, you have choice. One does not mean you're not following the sunnah. Okay? If you get up like with your palms down, so what? If you get up with your fists down, so what? Neither one is a better activity than the other. Does that make sense? Okay. That's what I have to say. Oh, and in the sitting jalsa, your hand should be, can you get my hand? Your hand should be on your leg, not over your foot, not over your knee. It should be back. Even so much, it should be down. Okay? This takes comfort. And then your other finger is here, and you should be looking here at the finger. Now, there's look, there's another issue that people have. Making the fist or the finger. Some people say they take their finger and they go like this. They make it go round in a circle. I'm not trying to disrespect anyone. The circle that they don't understand the Sharia. The Sharia doesn't say he made a circle with his finger. He says he took his middle finger and his thumb and made a circle out of them. You see that? There's a circle out of them. Or he made a fist. I asked personally Dr. Ahmed Low, Sheikh Ahmed Low, why do we have so many different activities in the Shahud? He said in the Tashahud. He said because there are a lot of narrations. And people are narrating what they saw. The Sahaba narrate from whatever they saw. So some saw like this, some saw with a fist. Okay? Now, this is what you do. Now, moving the fist or moving the finger or not moving it depends on, I guess how much you think you should. But it shouldn't disturb the next person. Okay? And there is none of this. If you see my hands, some people they go like, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Assalamu alaikum. This is not from the Sunnah to do like those particular things. Relax. You turn your head. You don't have to do this. There's, turning your head and then turning it that way. It's not that what you're supposed to do is turn your head lightly over your right, but turn your head extremely when you turn to the left. When you turn to your left, and it's a miraculous thing that you can turn more to the left than you can to the right. And you're supposed to look over your shoulder. Whereas the right, you're supposed to turn lightly. The left, you're supposed to turn and look over your shoulder more. Does that make sense? And that is the salah. Now, when do you turn? If the imam says, say Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. He's the imam. Louder, louder. Assalamu alaikum. Oh, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Yeah, keep saying it. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. No. I'm firing you. Go ahead, Nazir. Make it loud. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. You see, I did it right after he did the first one. The taslim is the exit from the salah, right? Now I can wait. Okay? I can wait as well. In the Shafi'i madhab, it is preferred that you wait till both finish. Okay? In the Maliki madhab, they have it open. As soon as he says Assalamu alaikum, then you might find people saying Assalamu alaikum following him. Both are correct. There is no difference of opinion here. Okay? They're both saying when the salah ends. I'll get you in a moment. Inshallah. There's no difference. Just the salah ends. Some just wait. And the Shafi'i madhab is a lot stricter. You're not supposed to move until the imam moves. Does that make sense? So the imam finishes, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. If he doesn't turn around, then you're not allowed to move. The men are. The women have a different rule. The woman can move immediately. Does that make sense? Because the Prophet ﷺ used to not move in order to allow the ladies in the back to get up and to leave and go back, especially at the Fajr time when they used to come. And so you'll find different scholars not moving, and if you move before that, it's seen as rude, disrespectful to. Not that your salah is not valid, but in the Malik, remember, it doesn't make a difference. As soon as he says Assalamu alaikum, you can get up. And that's why you'll see sometimes the imam will turn sideways to give people who have to get up, because this is the United States, we go by the 45-second minute, right? Everybody wants to hurry up and go. They have things to do, and they have a right to. So you don't want to make them uncomfortable in doing that. Does that make sense? All right. Now we'll take questions. Eid, you had a question first. Yeah, I did have a question. It had something to do with lining up. You said that the imam is... The imam is in charge of the salah. Yep, okay. So we get in line, and he usually says shoulder to shoulder, foot to foot. Right, he might say it in English, or he'll say, Sawwu sufufukum. Sawwu sufufukum. This is Arabic for, taswiyah, to straighten the sufuf, the ranks. Sawwu sufufukum. Sawwu sufufukum. Okay? I'tadilu. Stand up straight. Be, straight in the ranks. Now in the military, we should be like this. We would come together, boom, and then we stand in straight tall. We come to Islam, we come together. And that was my question. If we're lining up, and you line up there. See, you don't have to look down. Okay. When you're taught how to line up, you don't have to look down. To see, it's the same thing like when you're doing a kata. You don't have to look at the moves that you're doing, right? You just have to learn where's your body. It's yours, right? You're here. Let's line up. We line up. Now, some of the Salaf used to put their foot on the other one, not stomp on it, No, but they would put it next to them. And their leg would come together. Okay? It's not just the foot, it's the leg, the hip, as close as you can. I had an imam in Japan, when I lived in Japan, man, we were like this in the salah. He packed us in there because he felt that there are more angels who get in. If you get closer, more angels are coming in. And we be packed in this little place, you know, and it might we not even fill the whole place, but there was a lot of brotherhood. There was a lot of brotherhood. Now, some people may not want you to touch them.
That was my question.
Okay, but you can't force nobody. You can't grab them in a headlock and be like, you know, you're going to stand here. But what will happen is the natural consequence is going to be some love loss. The Prophet ﷺ said that you straighten the ranks, you will get close to each other, or Allah will make your hearts divided. So if you try to step next to me, step to me, put your foot next to me. You know, you're going to be like, yo, man, this guy, get out of here. You know, and after the sun, Assalamu alaikum.
Yeah. But actually, that's what happened.
But you can't do anything about that. Okay, what happens is that, you know, it's a thing that, it's a culture thing. Listen, the problem we have with Islam is that Islam is secondary in our life. See, we have a culture, all of us, okay? It's not blame any one person. We follow our culture. Let's say I am Abu Taubah culture, okay? And so I'm going to follow Abu Taubah's culture, and in Abu Taubah's culture, there are some Islamic things. You get my point? Now, when those Islamic things contradict or go against my Abu Taubah culture, I don't do those things. Does that make sense? But you call me Muslim because it looks that way. We're supposed to be the opposite. We're supposed to be Muslim with some cultural things in there. And when those cultural things go against the Quran and the Sunnah of Islam, then we stop doing those things. And we stick to those things right there. We're going to make sure we walk you out, okay? No, yeah, I'm not going to do that.
He's going to,
okay.
He won't be here Wednesday, so you can
hold on. Make sure she gets her.
He's going to hold on just to Wednesday.
Okay. So does that make sense, everybody?
But the question is that, you know, when someone obviously moves away from you,
don't chase.
Yeah, and just
because you wind up being like this.
Yeah, you will.
And that doesn't look right. That's not.
Yeah, but that's the same thing when I'm doing a salat prayer, and I'm hearing in my head that if we're not close, then our hearts divided. So I'm in the salat prayer, brother's like here. So sometimes I gotta go over here, and I'm trying to make sure.
No, you know what you do? Don't do that. This is the thing. What you're supposed to do. Come on up here. Okay, look. What happens is this. Let's say the imam is right here, okay, in the middle. I'm gonna stand over here, and he steps away that way, right? He doesn't want to stand next to me. The imam is over here. I'm gonna get close over here. If somebody will step forward, you get my point? They can step forward, but if he wants to stand there, the line lines up in the center, right? So I try to get closer to the center. Right. Period. If he steps away, that's between him and his Lord. I am not responsible for Dawood. Okay? So let's try to go like this. Don't go, you in Salah. You know, just be cool and just stay straight. Try to be close to the imam. That's it. You know, that's the only thing.
Okay, this is what I understand. Every masjid in the Southern masjid, they always go ankle to ankle, shoulder to shoulder. I'm seeing people doing stuff like.
Okay, this is just a good question. Okay, how do you line up? Do you have to come in there and go like that? Now you kallif Allahu nafsan illa, you know, people I'm flat-footed. Okay, so I don't have to do that. You don't have to do that. What you do is you stand natural. Okay? Now, some people, they have different feet. Don't worry about it. Just stand natural. Okay? Stand up straight with your shoulder width apart, natural. Easy. You know, and all of that extra stuff, it's like, you know, when someone first starts learning Quran, you know, we Quran teach, they start, we say, hey, take it easy. Just, relax. The sounds are normal sounds. Matter of fact, almost all the sounds are sounds we use in the English language. So you don't have to, go that far with it. The same thing with the standing. It's a normal standing. Your feet should be facing forward. You shouldn't be standing sideways, but your toes are forward. That's it. Does that make sense?
No.
All right.
One last question.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so when you're standing and are you going down? Or from the ruku going down?
You want to ruku, you don't go down. You're in ruku, then you come back up.
Right, you're going down. Some people go down with their hands first.
You put your hands down first, but then again, this becomes an issue of following the Salaf, okay? Which goes first? Do you put your knees down first or do you put your hands down first? Now this goes back to which one of the imams of the sunnah that you determine to follow. If you follow Imam Malik or Imam Abu Hanifa, you might say put your hands down first, okay? If you follow Imam Shafi or Hanbali, you might say do either one or put your knees down first. We live in the desert. We see camels, okay? So we say, hey, the camels, his hands go down like this and then go. So that's what I do. I put my hands down. Plus, I don't want to hurt myself, okay? But either way, the person does it, don't worry about it. Whichever one you feel comfortable, based on which one your imam is telling you is from the sunnah and you believe in that, then follow that. This again goes to following the salaf and not an issue that has been clearly determined in the sharia. Remember, when the sharia mentions something that is vague and can be interpreted more than one way, you have a choice. Because you can say, hey, it could have been interpreted more than one way. Don't fight over those things. Okay? Yes, ma'am. No, there's no moving it side to side at all. And there's no like heavy moving it up and down. It's looking at it and it kind of vibrates a little bit. Okay? But all the moving side to side, all that is just incorrect reading. People read it in English and didn't understand what they were reading. Okay? The circle is with the middle finger and the thumb, or make a fist. You can make a fist and point. Okay? And if you point hard, it starts to vibrate. And you're supposed to look at it and make dua. Does that make sense? Yes, ma'am.
Some people, when they come up from Ruku, come up when the imam says, Sami Allah, and some come up when you say, Rabbana lakal hamd.
Okay, so what's the ruling? When do you come up from the ruku? You can come up from the ruku when you hear the imam say, Sami Allahu liman hamida. You can follow him as long as you don't go ahead of him. Or you can wait till he comes up and then come up. It's okay. Either way, it's okay. Does that make sense? As long as you do not get ahead of the imam. Getting ahead of the imam invalidates your salah. Okay? You cannot get ahead of the imam. Does that make sense?
Is there any correct or incorrect way for making salah in the chair?
Is there any correct? This is something that we get into fiqh al-waqi'. Because the way that people in the past used to do it and the way that we do it today is different. But it may not be incorrect because we're using a European chair. They didn't use the European chair. So they used a stool or they sat down. Does that make sense? So using the chair today is okay. How they use it. I said before, like let's say if you can stand up, start off standing and then sit down when you can't take anymore. And then it goes to ruku. If you can stand, when they say Sami Allahu liman hamida, you stand up, Sami Allahu liman hamida, Rabbana wa lakal hamd, or wherever you put your hands, Allahu Akbar, and you sit back down. Unless that hurts your back. Because some people can't do that, because that's going to hurt them. Then they should start off, Allahu Akbar, and then sit down, and then don't stand up again. You see, I'm sitting up straight though, right? I'm not,
You're at the movies.
no, you're not, you're sitting up. Okay, you're using as minimal as possible. You can sit back in the chair if you have to, but if you don't need the back, then sit up. Does that make sense? Remember who you're standing and sitting in front of. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So it's a serious situation. You're not to be a slouch in that situation.
There's usually one sister that tells the sisters to get the line straight. Is that
Totally okay. There's usually a sister, a woman who's, I don't believe in calling them sisters and doing all this stuff like that because that's following the kuffar in that. We know they do that in the church, they do that, and that's sister so-and-so. The Prophet said, we don't have narrations where they said that. Okay, they call them by their names. Okay, they said a rajulun, mra'atan, man, a woman. Right? This is what we say. You never, ya akhi Umar. Didn't do that. They treated each other like ikhwan, but they didn't call each other brother so-and-so or sister so-and-so. So this is something we find another religious group doing. In fact, that's where we got it from. So to do it is a bid'ah. To imitate another people whose activities come from their deen, right? Then that makes it an innovative practice. Does that make sense? Especially when we have something from the sunnah. What did they call them? By their nicknames, right? Abu so-and-so, right? So-and-so. So that's what we should do. Inshallah ta'ala. Does that answer your question? All right. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I have some questions, please.
Fadl.
قراءة الفاتحة بعد الإمام.
Can you recite the Fatiha by the Imam? You can, you don't have to.
You don't have to.
Okay, because the Imam, the Fatiha for from the Imam is for the whole Jama'ah.
No.
Does that make sense?
No.
And one of the proofs of that is that what happens if you catch the Imam in the ruku'? What happens? You have to repeat the whole raka'ah?
No.
No, you don't.
No, you don't have to.
So then why don't you? You have to recite Al-Fatiha. You didn't recite Al-Fatiha then. Does that make sense?
No.
This is one of the dalil al-qati' that you don't have to do it in the Imam's Fatiha is for the Jama'ah. The only one who of the ulama of the past who felt that way was Imam al-Bukhari. If he caught the ruku', he would pray the whole rak'ah over. But he is what we call a hadith when one person does something. We call it shadh, right? You get my point? Especially if it goes against other Imam Bukhari's fiqh, but it goes against other fiqh. We don't think about these particular issues as opposed to apply. We hear something and it becomes a fad. Okay? Now, it's not incorrect if a person wants to recite Al-Fatiha. However, if he did not, none of the ulama who are mufti, who are qadi, judges, say that the ma'moon have to recite the Fatiha after the imam. In fact, when they're asked, they all say he does not. Does that make sense?
No.
There you go. Ask the other question. He's got it.
جلوس بعد السجدة الثانية قبل الرفع.
نعم.
هل
هذا ليس من فرض الصلاة. هذا من سنن
من السنن.
لكن يجب عليك أن تفعل. يجب عليك ولكن إن نسيت فخير. يعني سجدة السهو. نعم. لكن من الفرض السجدة الثانية يعني التشهد الثاني والأخيرة. مفهوم؟ يعني هذا واجب.
لا أنا أتكلم على
الجلوس الأول.
الجلوس قبل الرفع.
نعم فهمت.
في السجدة الثانية.
نعم.
بعد السجدة الثانية.
نعم.
الرفع.
ما بها. ما هو سؤال؟
سؤالي هل هو إجباري قبل الرفع الجلوس بعد السجدة الثانية؟
نعم إذا أردنا أن نقول ما هي نقول أن هذا من أركان الصلاة.
نعم.
لكن هناك بعض الأشياء يسمى فرض الصلاة. يعني واجب علينا أن نفعلها. إذا لم نفعل هذا يعني بطلت الصلاة. لكن إذا نسيت هذا خطأ ليس عمدا فأنت تجبرها بسجدة سهوة في الأخير. فهمت؟
نعم.
ولكن إذا فعلتها عمدا يعني تركتها عمدا فهذا خطأ ويبطل الصلاة. هل فهمتني؟
نعم فهمت.
أيوة جزاك الله خير. I gotta take last one. Go ahead. Then we gotta go because we could. Yeah, because Salah is an interesting subject. Yeah. Okay. Let me get him first, and I'll go. Yeah, I'm yes, sir. Sorry.
This one I understand. A scholar came here, and I did this ever since he came. When we were making Tayammum, he said to strike the surface like this, rub it, then rub my hand. I thought we were supposed to blow. He said don't blow. He said just rub the back of your right hand and rub the left hand. Just try to relax,
We're not doing tayammum right now because that's a whole other subject, and I didn't even touch on it, so we'll have to deal, So because it is. Don't just chill. Go ahead.
This has happened to me several times, particularly overseas, when you have these long rooms. And my understanding is that we should line up behind the imam.
Yes.
But and this has happened in Raleigh too. The people come in and they'll go all the way to the left, and there's only a few people. And so then I'm left with, should I join them or line up properly behind the imam?
Line up properly behind the imam. So she's saying now, let's say you come, the imam is in the middle. Let me draw this here. The imam is here, right? Leading the salah, and everybody is here. Okay? Right? Like that. And you come, you say, hold on, you're here. I thought we're supposed to start here, right? So that's where you start. You go right there, and you start the salah right there. If the whole world is wrong, no, seriously. لا يضرك إذا اهتديت. If they're going astray, it was not going to harm you if you do what's right.
But the imam, when the sister said the imam was there, we started, they were going over that way. We got to be over this side of the imam.
Okay, look. The salah, what do you do then when the ladies are off to the side over here? No, you start up in the middle. Start up in the middle and go both ways like that. It's no big deal. Start off in the middle in here. Don't start off on this side, because really the lady's supposed to be back and the young girls are supposed to be in the front, right? But if they're not coming, sadly, you know, then you line up in the front like that. But start off in the middle, and then people are supposed to go on one side and the other, one side and the other, and do like that. Does that make sense?
Keep it on balance.
Yeah, it balances the line. Does that make sense? You start off in the middle, and then go one left, right, left, right, left, right, left, right. Does everybody make sense? Does that make sense?
That's the same with me, and they'll do that too. They'll be on the right.
Yes, it's
Everybody
okay.
on the right
Start in
and
the
not
middle.
left.
Start in the middle. Okay. Does that answer the question for today? Jazakallah khair. I know, jazakallah khair for your patience and appreciate the questions. Alhamdulillah, subhanaka Allahumma wa bihamdik, ashhadu an la ilaha illa ant, astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. Make sure y'all don't mess up. Get my homework. My homework.
Okay, now explain the conditions there.
These are all the conditions. These are the conditions for salah, right?
Yeah.
So you gotta
You gonna
bring
keep
proof
this,
that there's a
or you may
gotta
keep?
bring- all you gotta do is look at the salah, the one who prayed for you.
Because Wednesday,
The hadith. The
You ain't
man
gonna be
who
here?
prayed for
I don't
you.
think I'm be here
That's one of the
Wednesday.
big proofs.
Because
that you can
he
use.
said he's not gonna make it Wednesday.
Okay?
So
The hadith of the man who prayed for you.
show how to do this.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna run back to the store. I'm gonna run back to the store now.
Say
I'm gonna give this to you.
Bismillah, you strike.
Okay.
We got this little bag.